Well, hello and welcome everybody. Welcome into Fundamentals Labs here at Nitrogen. Super excited to be here with all of you guys today. Today's all about risk center. So a lot of those core fundamental pieces inside of Nitrogen we'll be covering today. We'll be going through some use cases. But before we get into all that, just a brief introduction. My name is Ian. I'm part of the coaching team here at Nitrogen. And joining me today is my amazing teammate, Stephanie. Stephanie, how you doing today?
Yeah, hey Ian, glad to be here. Thanks. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. We are back at it again. So let's move on into our slides here. We're going to go through just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. So you made it of notice the lines are muted when you jump into the session. That's just so that we could focus on the topic at hand. But that said, we'd love to interact with you guys. We want to get your questions. We'd love to get comments from you as well. So feel free to use that Q&A box inside your Zoom window. Drop your questions in there and we will get to them in our Q&A session at the end. And then we are going to have some polls throughout the session, so please interact with those. We'd love to get a temperature check from you guys, see how things are doing, how this content's working from you, and then also a after session survey. You'll see that as well. Just a way that we can make our content even better moving forward. Now, in terms of what we're going to be covering today, we have just a brief agenda here to go over, but really what we're going to hone in on are a few ideas here. So, how can you attract the ideal prospects? We'll be talking about the lead generation questionnaire and some prospecting tools inside Nitrogen. Then we'll move into engaging clients with confidence using that risk questionnaire, how you can capture risk tolerance, and then delivering impactful proposals. So, what does that proposal building process look like? What can you do inside Nitrogen in terms of proposals? And then scaling your client reviews will round out the session with that as well. So, well, let's jump into Nitrogen. Now, I will say today is going to be fairly interactive. We're going to have some hands-on activities for you guys to run through. So, if you want to follow along, watch our points and clicks, maybe and then just give yourself that 5 minutes to engage with what we just showed you on screen. We will have some activities for you guys to run through. And then before we get into sort of the first section here, I just want to mention that today's going to be more about use cases. Like what are the use cases that you can accomplish with nitrogen? So we're not going to be um, getting as granular on every single individual point and click, but I will mention we do have a ton of resources for those points and clicks. If you want to learn more, if you need a little bit extra help there, jump in to your help center here in the bottom right hand corner. That's where you can find all of our learning resources there. One thing I'm going to call out here, actually, in fact, is inside of our guided tours, especially, there's a lot of really good guided tours in there. One of the first things you'll see is that welcome to nitrogen. So, Stephanie, if you don't mind clicking on that really quick, what this is going to do is surface up a video for you. If you are brand new to nitrogen, I recommend watching this video because it's going to help you get your integration set up. It's also going to help you get some of those account settings set up as well. So some of the more finer details that you might need to pull a lever on or two inside of your settings to make sure everything is fine-tuned to you and your firm. So just a few things. Again, that's going to be in your help center under guided tours. So always recommend taking a look at that guy. And now, of course, other help items are inside that help center for you. If you guys need a little bit more help with those points and clicks, you can jump in there for video tutorials, more webinars like this, and our help articles under the knowledge base as well. So if you need extra help, definitely jump in there. Now, I'm going to move us into our first section here. Stephanie, I'll pass it over to you. But before I do that, I did forget to mention we do have resources inside the Zoom window as well. So if you click inside of your Zoom window, we have some resources available for you guys there. Now, the first scenario or kind of use case that we're going to cover here is, again, that lead generation questionnaire and how can we attract new prospects that feel like my ideal client. So, Stephanie, with that, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ian. And yes, +1 to that help center. I use that help center all the time. We all do here. That's a great reference. You can also chat in that chat box below the help center too. So yeah, use case number one, if we're thinking about, okay, I want to attract those ideal clients. If you're working on finding new leads, new prospects, sort of growing your firm that way, you have a few tools at your disposal here that will show off to you. So both things that we want to highlight are in the menu So first up, we have a marketing kit. So I'll touch on this really lightly, and then we'll get to the lead generation questionnaire link. But the marketing kit is great for sort of those pre-made marketing materials. If you want to do some digital marketing, some newsletters, some social media, maybe something on your website where you're positioning yourself as an expert in the industry, sort of that risk aware or risk first advisor, you can use any of the resources in here. We have these quick jump buttons. So we have things like social media graphics, a slide deck if you do like seminars or presentations, press release, posters, QR codes. A use case there, we've heard from advisors, they'll put a QR code on the back of a business card. I think I heard one time an advisor put a QR code and had one of those, like, you see real estate agents with things on their cars. He did something like that on his car with a QR code so people could scan it that way. So feel free to get creative. We've got a video you can put online. You can click through these and explore them, but these are some ready-made materials that are framed through that lens of, risk, finding a client's risk number, but you can white label them all for your firm. You can add your logos, your firm names, things like that to really customize. So it's a big old list. You can use those quick jump buttons, or you can just simply scroll through it. But there's a lot here. Definitely come and check out the marketing kit if you want some ready-made materials. And then what you would do, so those materials are sort of the visual that you could market with to attract those prospects and leads. And then your call to action, what you would actually get prospects or leads to do is complete the lead generation questionnaire. That is found under your menu and settings. So still in the menu, but when we come into our menu and settings, there's going to be a lead generation tab. And so when we get to that lead generation tab, there's a link that we can use. And hopefully it'll catch up here quick. That sometimes happens. My, system just wants to take its sweet time. So, but once we get back here, we'll show that off to you. But the lead generation questionnaire allows you to have a clickable link or a button. We see right here, lead generation. You'll click on, if you're following along in your account, you'll see a box that probably says untitled link. You click on that, and then there are two options to get this lead generation questionnaire in the hands of leads and prospects. So you can create a button for your website, or you can simply hyperlink and put a link in your email signature, on a newsletter, on a social media post. So this is available to you built into Nitrogen. If you want to add a button to your website, you can simply come in and copy this code. We have a how-to guide at the bottom. So if you need to reference that, feel free to do that. But most easily, what I like to point out is the hyperlink. So this is what you can just simply copy and, like I said, attach to your email signature, drop in a social media post. And this link will allow leads, prospective clients to click on it. They fill out their contact information and they go through the whole risk questionnaire experience, that risk tolerance experience, so that they get a risk number at the end. And then you get their information as a lead. So then you can take the next step to follow up with that lead and hopefully continue discerning whether this is, an ideal client that would be right for your firm. So this is a great way to sort of identify those ideal clients ahead of time. Make sure you have a little bit of information about how much they're investing and, what their goals are and things like that. We'll talk about the questionnaire here a little bit more in depth coming up soon. But this is a great way to just put this out into the world and again, capture those leads so you can grow your firm that way. And again, we have guides here, how-to guides on this hyperlink webpage. So definitely check those out, explore those. And that way you're introducing the risk number concept early on in your relationship with clients. So Ian, I think next up we're going to talk about actually engaging with clients and prospects using the risk number and all of these tools for like compliance and client engagement. Feel free to jump into that or add anything I missed here for lead generation, and we'll go into the next topic.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'll segue into the risk questionnaire in just a second. I just want to just throw this out there because recently an advisor told me, like Stephanie was saying, get creative with the QR code, which is going to have this lead generation questionnaire link for you. An advisor told me he put it on his golfing towel, so he just has it on his golf bag now, and just anytime he runs into a conversation on the course, someone will scan it. And so, yeah, you get creative with it, find a way to use it, and again, it's going to allow you to capture lead information, create that risk number for them, and also capture all inside nitrogen. And it's super simple and easy. So, great way to engage with those prospects. Now, in terms of if we want to think about another use case or scenario here, like I want to document risk for compliance reasons, obviously, but I want it to feel like a client experience, right? I don't want to run people through these just tedious pages of questionnaires that are subjective, and I want it to really feel like a client experience. So, the next thing we'll talk about is the risk questionnaire, which is essentially very similar to the lead generation questionnaire, but it's made specifically for clients, so current clients. So, we'll navigate to a current client here, Stephanie. And we'll show you guys a few options that you have. So not only do you have the risk questionnaire to capture risk tolerance, which is typically what we recommend, but we also realize there are those clients that may not be as technologically savvy. Maybe they're not able to sit through the risk questionnaire in its entirety, and maybe you've already had conversations about their risk in the past. You don't feel like you need to revisit that conversation by way of a risk questionnaire. And so a few options here. The first one we'll cover is actually risk target setting. So with the risk target tool, if you go to the risk number tab, you'll see two options here. Now, on the left-hand side is where we'll start. You can set a risk target. So again, if this is a client, say James here, he's a long-standing client. I understand where his risk tolerance is. We really don't need to have that conversation with the risk questionnaire. So I'm going to come in here and set a risk target. If you click in that guy, basically what it's going to allow you to do is just select a range for the risk number. It's going to show you what that 6-month range will look like. So here we see maybe we select in that 35 to 70 range. We can move the slider to show this is typically where you'll fall in the next 6 months. Is this something you're comfortable with? And you can add the investment amount and some notes there as well. So this is an option for those clients that you don't want to use the risk questionnaire for. But for the most cases, in most cases, you do want to use that risk questionnaire because it's going to put the client in the driver's seat. It's going to allow them to tell you how much risk they're comfortable with, and it's going to be a very personalized experience to them. So Stephanie, let's jump into that. Let's see what the risk questionnaire looks like. Now, I will preface this by saying, we're going to go through this fairly quickly. I'm going to get us to the meat of the questions. The first couple questions are just fact finding. They're purely for your information. So here we're first going to start with this menu here. It's going to ask you client name. That should be pre-filled for you. If there's anything you want to focus in on for this assessment, you can add that in there. And then the investment amount as well. I'll pause here for a second because the investment amount, actually, pro tip, a lot of advisors like to leave this blank because it will act as a moment of discovery later on in the questionnaire where the client has to enter how much they have to invest. So this could be a point of discovery for maybe a Hellaway account that you're not aware of. Maybe they enter more than you are aware of. You can have a conversation of like, hey, I noticed there's extra money in here. What's your goal with that extra account there? So we're going to leave it blank for now, and then we'll click launch now here. This is going to open the questionnaire on our screen to walk through with the client. The first page here, just a landing page, just going to say, hey, we're here to capture your risk number. Before we click get started, I'm just going to call this out. This little button in the bottom right-hand corner exists throughout the entire questionnaire, but it's going to surface a quick 3-minute video for you to watch. We've made this to be client-facing as well, so it's a really great thing to point out to clients if you want to give them a little bit extra information on the risk number, risk questionnaire, why we're taking it. So there's that. Let's click get started. Again, these first couple questions, purely fact finding. We're just going to kind of zoom through them. It's asking about goals. It's asking about financial status, any notes they want to enter here, and then their investment amount they have to enter in order to move on to the next question. And then we'll ask for their age, retirement date, and then a few just sentiment questions. How are you feeling about the market? How are you feeling about your financial future? I know we blaze through those. It's because they're just fact-finding questions, and we want to get here to the point where a lot of advisors have questions around. And this is where the actual analysis, the calculation of the risk number starts. And it's with this slider here. Basically, what this is telling you to do is say, hey, think about the next 6 months and then move the slider to a position that you feel comfortable with. Now it's going to give you both a percentage and a dollar amount based on that investment amount you entered there. So go ahead and move that to a place that you feel comfortable with for the possibility of losing that amount for the chance of gaining. What is a spot you feel comfortable with? It's going to give you also a typical portfolio like this. This number right here would have a target annual range of about 5.24%. So this is going to be the first stop here in the calculation. Next, when we move on, before we do, Stephanie, I just want to say keep in mind that bottom number because it's going to come into play in the next question. So let's click next. We're at 103,000 at the bottom there. Now it's saying, okay, if the market were to suddenly drop and your portfolio value dropped by 91,000, what would you do? Are you going to sell and reduce risk or are you going to stay invested? Now, hopefully they say stay invested, right? Because that's less than they said in the previous question at that 103,000. If they say, I'm going to sell and reduce risk right here, what the questionnaire is going to do is actually bump them back to that slider and say, hey, you might want to take another look here, just quick gut check, make sure that this is in a position that you're comfortable with. But for now, we'll say stay invested. We're going to move to the next question. And here is what Stephanie likes to call our optometrist test. This is our A-B scenario, right? On the left-hand side, the A side, are you going to go with a sort of a gamble, a potential gain for a potential loss? Or are you more comfortable with that B side, that certainty? So regardless of how you answer here, the questionnaire is dynamic. It's going to adapt to your answer and it's going to spit out a little bit of a different scenario. So if you pick that A side, it's going to bump up that B side for you. Okay. Are you now going for that certainty of about 50,000 or are you still going for that gamble on the A side? What are we picking? Stephanie's a gambling woman. We're going with the A side all the way. So it's going to keep making adjustments here as you click through the questionnaire and just kind of find a spot in that risk number range of where you fall as in terms of risk tolerance. Now, as we click through this, it's going to ask you about 5 times and then we'll say, yep, done, next. And it's going to give you a risk number. That's it. That's the entire risk questionnaire. It's very quick, painless, and it's honestly, yeah, I don't know, visually, I like it. I think it's nice. So here's going to give you your risk questionnaire, or your risk number rather. You're at a risk number 50. So what does that mean? The risk number is on a scale from 1 to 99. 1, you could think of like, cash under the mattress, 99 being like a hyper volatile stock, think like a Tesla, right? So here we're about in the middle of that range. And this is our overall 6-month range here. On the right-hand side, about 15% on the top side and negative 9.6 on the bottom side. You could fall anywhere between that range over the next 6 months. And that's what you're saying you're comfortable with. So at this point, they can say, yep, that feels like me. I'm a risk number 50, or I want to make an adjustment. If they say, I want to make an adjustment, they are allowed to adjust the risk number up or down about 5 points on either end. So just know that they can make that adjustment. So we'll click yes, that feels like me. So what happens now after they complete this, either if they do it in person with you, on Zoom with you, or you send it out via a link, you will get an email as an advisor saying, hey, James has completed his risk questionnaire. It's ready for review. At that point, you jump in here, go to that risk number tab, and then you will be able to see this pending for review risk questionnaire. A few things here. So first, yes, you can click to confirm results, but I always recommend click on the actual name of the investment down here. That's a hyperlink. It's going to open up the assessment for you to review, where you can see how they answered all those questions, the financial goals, the financial sentiment, if they left you any notes, and how they answered each one of those A/B scenarios, as well as like all the information on the right. So birth year, retirement age, all that information will be captured for you as well. And by the way, all this is going to be captured if you're using the lead generation questionnaire. So if this was a lead, you would be seeing the same information. But here we use the actual risk questionnaire because they're a current client. So at this point, we can confirm the results, say, yep, that looks good. James is a risk number 50, and we're good to go. We've captured his risk questionnaire. And, I think it's a fairly painless process. creates a very risk-forward client experience that can really just complement your current client meetings and workflows, but also capture that necessary information for compliance. So with that, we have a 5-minute activity. We want to give you guys time to run through the questionnaire yourself. So we're going to flash up that activity on your screen here, and then we'll come back and move into our next section about proposals.
All right, welcome back. Yeah, thanks, Ian, for walking us through that questionnaire. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed that little activity. Thanks for engaging with our poll. So yeah, hopefully that helps you feel a little bit more confident about the questionnaire. Remember, drop any questions in the Q&A. We'll get to those during our webinar, and we'll have some Q&A time at the end as well. But yeah, next up, we want to talk a little bit about, let's say, next steps if you have someone complete a questionnaire, or if you just simply want to create a proposal for someone that shows how you're solving a real world problem or getting them aligned with that investment level where they want to be. So let me pull up our sample here, kind of our client James. So if this were a prospective client or if this is an existing client and we've recognized that we need to make some changes to his investments, we have a proposal section, and that's what we're going to walk through today to kind of show you how you can think about creating proposals. I will mention we always have this create portfolio section in every profile for clients, prospects, leads. So if you ever want to capture their existing accounts, you can do that any number of ways. You can connect with an integration. That help video that Ian mentioned under the guided tours in the Help Center, that talks about integration setup and things like that. Integrations can help you with linking current client portfolios. You might be able to upload a statement or use a tool called Asset Sync to connect held away assets. So we won't go into all of those in depth today, but just know this is where the portfolio lives. That is where you can capture any of your clients' current investments or even a prospect. If you are able to capture their investments, you can do that. Um, and one more quick sidebar before I take us into proposals, I want to mention too, if you happen to see this gray bar over on the left-hand side of your client profile, you have access to our newest tool called Nucleus. And Nucleus is our AI client agent that can help you do things for your profile. So all of those steps that we just showed you, for example, for using the questionnaire, you can come in and ask Nucleus, hey, Nucleus, send James a risk questionnaire. And it'll confirm its email address and confirm the action with you. You have full control over the advisor to confirm the actions that the AI tool takes. But definitely come over here, check it out, interact with it. If you want it to upload a statement or even, create a proposal for you, hey, Nucleus, create me a proposal for James with, X amount of dollars, you could do that. Ian, anything on Nucleus before I jump into proposals?
Yeah, I will just add, definitely go in there, jump in there, give it a try. I like to tell everyone, if you don't know what it can do, just ask it. Ask it, what can you do for me? And it's going to give you a whole list of things that it can perform. Things like sending that risk questionnaire, capturing statements, maybe even creating reports for you or proposals. So there's a lot of things that it can do. And jump in there, give it a try, and give us feedback too. There is that feedback button at the top there. If it gives you a response you like, let us know. If it gives us a response you don't like, please let us know. And we'd be happy to get that feedback from you guys. So yeah, Nucleus, give it a try. It's really awesome. Does a whole lot of things for you. So.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Ian, for that addition as well. Yeah, so just wanted to call that out. If you see that gray bar, then you have access to it. As a little asterisk, we are working with larger firms, some firms to get approvals for permission to roll that out to advisors. So don't panic if you don't see it just yet. So yes, let's go into that use case for creating proposals to give clients or prospects a recommended investment plan. You can come in and simply create proposal, and that will create a draft proposal for you. Now, you can also click on this proposal tab here in James's profile or in your client's profile. You can click on proposals and create a draft proposal from there. And then it'll ask us how or what kind of account do we want to put in our proposal to start with. So maybe you're just going to do a generic fund and stock account. Maybe you're thinking an annuity product. You just select one of these to start with, and then you can always add more later on. So we're going to go with fund stocks and other. And you may see a few options for how you want to create those accounts. What I want to point out for you today is this copy a model option. This is the workflow that a lot of advisors and firms follow to streamline their proposal creation process. Now, where I didn't point you to yet is the models section. Like, okay, cool, Stephanie, I can copy a model, but how do I create my models to begin with? So glad you asked. That is going to be up in the models tab at the very top left of your nitrogen account. So you can always go in there and explore your active models. Maybe you're a part of a larger firm that's already done the legwork to create some models and you have some active models available to you. Maybe you're kind of a solo firm and you want to go in there and build out your own models. You can do that really simply and easily. It's super quick and easy, very step by step, similar to what we're seeing here on screen. You can just add a spreadsheet for one of your models or enter the model holdings manually. Another option you have is to visit our partner store. Maybe you use models by some of the larger providers out there. Think Fidelity, American Funds, BlackRock. We have, I think, over a dozen partners in the partner store where you can go in and simply subscribe to their models, and then you have them available to use at your fingertips. So that's a little pro tip. Go check out the model section if you have your regularly proposed investments that are your go-tos, build those out in nitrogen. And then when you come into this process to make a proposal, you'll be ready to go and you'll simply click copy a model. Now, again, we're going to give you some time in a few minutes to build your own proposals so you can experiment with adding investments. When we get to that activity, if you don't have any models built yet, that's totally fine. You can either go in and build out a model or just enter some holdings manually into a proposal. That's totally doable. So we're going to copy a model. We do honor tax statuses in nitrogen, so you can choose the appropriate tax status for the account that you want to add. And then it'll bring up the model options that you have. When this comes up, I'm going to click on the option that says My Models, and those will be the models that I've created for my firm. So you'll see I've subscribed to some as well, but I'm going to click on My Models. And if we take a peek again at the top, we know James wanted to be around a 50. So I'll keep that in mind when I'm making my recommendation for him and showing him how I can help him invest his assets at a risk level that he's comfortable with. So we have lots of examples and things here. So I'll go select one of my samples. We know from his questionnaire that he had a little over $1 million to invest. Right now, I'm going to put all our eggs in this model basket. But you can add this model as a holding and then add some other models if you want to take a blended approach, if you want to put some of prospects investments into an annuity or something like that, you can simply add an account and build out a separate account, separate product, an annuity, another stock account, whatever you like. So we have our recommendation here. We're aligned, we're more closely aligned with what James wants in terms of risk. And now we would be prepared to sit down in a meeting with him and show him, here's why we're recommending what we're recommending. Let's talk about the numbers. It sort of takes away the mystery of sort of methods in the past where we would say, well, here's a conservative model for you, or an aggressive model. Like that could mean something different to me than it does to Ian, than it does to, any other client or prospect out there. So here you're able to put a number to it with the risk number. And we hear from many advisors and firms that they'll put together a proposal that's within about 4 to 6 risk numbers. So if the client wants to be at a 50, give or take 4 or 5 risk numbers, and you'll get that at a good risk number level, a good risk level. So we have that risk 49. We have that historical range. Like the comfort zone that Ian showed us with the questionnaire, we're able to show clients with their real world investments with actual securities and holdings. This is the typical performance, a range of performance that they could expect for their portfolio 95% of the time. So not only are we giving them a risk number, but you're also helping them set expectations for what's normal for their portfolio. So they're, less prone to panic when markets dip. And we have other basic analytics like asset class, dividends. GPA is our metric on portfolio efficiency. So the better the grade, the better the GPA, the more efficient their investments are. We have a lot more in our help center on those figures. And then we have portfolio or proposal costs. So we have those here. When you build out a portfolio or proposal, go in there and click around some of the analytics. We have things like stress test, heat maps, different things like that. But at a base level, we see a lot of advisors reviewing the risk number and the historical range with their clients and making sure that they're comfortable with this sort of investment path. So now if we've put together this recommendation, whether or not we've analyzed someone's current assets, we can show them, hey, here's our recommendation. We're going to get you in alignment with where you want to be, and also what should hopefully set them up for long-term success in retirement. So that's a great way to sort of replace those outdated proposal templates and things like that. Make it a little bit more of a visual that kind of brings your advice to life. So next up, we will go into one more activity. So we're going to give you some hands-on practice again. We'll give you some time. Drop any questions in the Q&A box at the bottom. We'll come back and run through a few other quick topics, and then we'll wrap up for the day. So let me pull that for us now.
Alrighty. Well, thank you all for engaging with that activity there. We always love to give you guys a little bit of time to sort of practice what we are preaching on here in terms of all things nitrogen. And of course, the poll responses too. Always love to see those. Thank you guys so much. Let's move on into our last section here. And this section, this use case is really all about how can I scale client reviews without having more meetings, right? No one wants more meetings on their calendar. We probably don't even have time for more meetings on our calendar. So, what are two things that we can do inside Nitrogen to help us scale those client reviews? And we're going to make two main stops here. The first one is going to be check-ins. So, check-ins can be accessed from that client tab on your top header there. You can also access it from within a client. You'll see that check-in tab on that sort of subheader there as well. But check-ins is essentially a automated tool that will allow you to schedule check-in emails to go out on whatever cadence you so choose, which I'll get into in just a moment. But basically, these reviews are going to go out on your behalf from Nitrogen. And it's going to ask your clients two questions. The first question, how do you feel about the market? And then the second will be, how do you feel about your financial future? They'll get an option to answer these questions, and it's really quick and easy. It's mobile friendly, so they could answer on their phone if they want. But then it's going to then give you back their sentiment here, which will populate on the dashboard, and then allow you to see holistically for your entire client, your book of business here, your client base. How is everyone doing? What does your overall client sentiment look like? You can look down the list here as Stephanie has highlighted our client sentiment. We have confident, we have anxious, fearful, and happy. So it's a really easy way to keep your thumb on the pulse and at a glance check in with your entire book of business. So if someone like Camille here had answered fearful, that might be a indicator for you to reach out to Camille. Maybe there's some information that you could gather there. Maybe she said she's anxious about the market. She's anxious about her financial future. Whatever it might be, gives you a little bit of information prior to your next scheduled review. Maybe you can give a quick call to Camille, see how things are going. Maybe there was a change of life situation there, whatever it might be. It gives you a really easy way to automate that sort of temperature check on your book of business here. So I did say you can set a cadence. So Stephanie, let's click into that little settings cog there on the left-hand side, because there are some levers you can pull here. You can set a default check-in frequency. So you can send it every month, every other month, every quarter, every 6 months, whatever you so choose. And then you'll see down here below, there are some default responses. So based on how someone responds to a check-in, if they respond positively or negatively, they're going to get this written response here. Now it is editable, so you can come here, change the default, make it whatever, say whatever you'd like. As a pro tip, some advisors even like to add in their Calendly link or their scheduling link into the negative response. So if you do get a negative response from a client, they have immediately access to schedule a quick call from you to figure out what's going on there. So that's check-ins. Again, a really great way to just have automated, scaled, check-ins to clients go out every so often. So this is one way that you can scale those reviews. Imagine a client receives a check-in before your quarterly or annual call with them, and now you have more information and you're spending time where there's misalignment. You're getting them back on track, and you already know kind of where to go and how to build that quarterly or annual review call with them. So check-ins is a great place. The next place is also going to be something that you'll probably leverage even more with prospects, with clients, and that is reporting. So reports builder is where our second stop will be. This is where you can come in and create those custom tailored reports for clients or for prospects. And yeah, you can click on your reports header there on like Stephanie is showing us. Now, when you first jump in here, you're going to see a list of Nitrogen report templates. These are our default templates from Nitrogen. And you can, from here, select one of these and then start to build out your own. So in this example, we'll select the snapshot. This is just our most simple single page report, essentially. And there's sort of three distinct sections here in the builder. On the left-hand side, we have our element library. That is basically all the pages of the report that you can add. And then in the middle, our report preview. So what is it going to look like? You can come in here, reorder pages, you can delete pages, anything you don't want in there can be removed. And then on the right-hand side, we have the client details and report details. So that's where you can come in, add that client, add that portfolio proposal, any comparisons, change the name of the report, enable any things like portfolio costs. So this is Reports Builder. Now, the scalability part of this comes in really with creating your own templates. Now, anytime you change a default template, you will see at the top that there's going to be a little tag there that says unsaved changes. Now, Stephanie added a page here, reordered a page. Now it's something entirely different than what you started with. It's your own report. So you can come in here, click on Report Template Actions, save as a new report, give it a name, and that way next time when you jump into Reports Builder, that's going to be there for you every single time, and you don't have to constantly recreate that reports wheel. Now, this is really good because you can come in here and create reports for different segments of clients. So maybe you create a custom tailored reports that you'll use every single time with prospects. Maybe you have custom tailored reports for different segments of your client or your book of business. So depending on, whatever it might be, whatever attributes you want to build it around, you can absolutely do that. So that is where the scalability parts comes in, is building those custom tailored reports. And then from here, you can generate the report, you can add that client, and then Stephanie, really quick, if you don't mind, let's just add a client here really quick because there's something I want to show everyone on the last page here when we generate a report, and that is going to be the ability to download it. So it's going to generate as a PDF. You can download it. Pretty simple. You can print it off directly from here, but you also have the ability to email directly from this page as well. So if you want to just send it directly to whatever client directly from this page, you can do that. So that's Reports Builder. Those are the two stops. Again, check-ins and Reports Builder for making things a little bit more, making those reviews a little bit more scalable in terms of working inside of Nitrogen. So with that, we're going to wrap it up here. We're coming up on our time. We want to have some time for Q&A as well. So Stephanie, I'm going to pass it back to you for some quick just resources.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ian. So let's jump into a couple resources. Again, if you have any questions that we haven't covered already, definitely drop those into the Q&A box at the bottom of Nitrogen. We can make sure to get you an answer before we wrap up today. But our sort of homework for you is to go and practice what you learned today. We know we gave you a little bit hands-on practice in the webinar, but go in and add another client or prospect, send a questionnaire, maybe build a portfolio or a proposal, schedule a check-in for an active client if you meet with somebody this week and you want to turn on that feature. Definitely go in and do that. And we'd love to, hear any success stories. Feel free to reach out to us. So we will have a closing poll or survey to close us out today. So we'll launch that and feel free to share your feedback with us. You can also email our team anytime by contacting coaching@nitrogenwealth.com. So definitely reach out to us if we can help with anything else. And we will put some additional training resources here on the screen. We mentioned that help button at the very beginning a couple times throughout our session today. Definitely go in, use those guided tours, the knowledge base articles. That's where a lot of our how-to guides are found. If you have Nucleus, you can chat with Nucleus, or you can use the live chat beneath the Help Center as well to ask questions. How do I do something, or help it out? Use the AI tools at your disposal. You can contact our support team as well, and we have weekly office hours. So if you want to join in and ask one of our coaches a question, a specific use case, or something like that, you can join office hours as well. So those are some resources.